If you're new to photography, chances are you struggle with this one key element that's essential for capturing compelling images. Issues with capturing the right mood, tone, and overall atmosphere successfully. So what's the big secret? Simple. It's all about lighting. Hey everyone, I'm photographer TK North, and in this video, we're going to be talking all about lighting, understanding its key components, how to use both natural and artificial light in all different types of photography, and ultimately, how to use light so you can capture beautiful looking photos. When it comes to the world of photography, light really is everything. Light not only determines how bright or dark your image will be, but also the overall tone, mood, and total atmosphere of your photos, ultimately determining how successful your photos are going to be. This is why understanding light and knowing exactly how to use it is such a fundamental part of photography. We'll explore this throughout the video so you can master and use it to your advantage no matter the situation. When it comes to photography, there are two main forms of light. Natural light from sources like the sun, like I'm using here now, and artificial light, like I have here in this setup, obtained from different lights and equipment. Many types of photography rely solely on natural lighting, like landscape photography, while others rely more heavily on artificial lighting, like some forms of studio photography. The easiest way to get started with photography is by using natural light, like I'm using to film here now. It is by far the most accessible, and it can be used in many different types of photography, from landscapes to portraits, from wildlife to street photography. Regardless of the type of photography you do want to pursue, understanding how to use artificial lighting is still an incredibly valuable skill to have. Let's start with one of the most common artificial lighting setups, the 3-point lighting setup, essentially what I'm using here right now. This is a go-to for filmmakers and also photographers because of the natural looking light it provides. Essentially, I have my main key light here just above my eyes off to one side, a fill light off to the left here, much less intense, and then some light behind me in the scene which acts as a bit of a backlight. These three light sources help produce a really dynamic looking scene, making your subject stand out while still giving some life to the overall scene. As I'm doing here, artificial light can create a very specific result that is easily replicated. So I'll get the same result in this room regardless of the light outside. So this is very important for types of photography like studio headshots and also product photography. Whether artificial or natural, another key component to consider is how intense or direct the light source might be. Softer or more diffused light can be much easier to work with and achieve a much more balanced result. Again, using my setup here as an example, I have a large softbox attached to my key light. This softens the light, making it much more flattering. This is often required when working with a main bright source of light. It can be done with equipment, but there is other ways to diffuse light as well, such as reflecting or bouncing light off other surfaces. A simple way you can diffuse natural light is actually taking portraits next to a window. The opening of a window can help filter light and create a flattering effect on lighting your subjects. When it comes to portrait photography, both artificial and natural light are frequently used, often even in combination. When using artificial lighting, two commonly used techniques are often referred to as butterfly and loop lighting. Both of these get their name by the shape of the shadow created by the nose and the direction of light. Here you will place either your flash or a consistent source of light just above your subject's eyes, slightly angled down to create this shadow. Again, ideally here you would want to use something like a softbox to diffuse the light more evenly. These same techniques can be used to help to understand natural light. Consider when the sun is a little bit lower in the sky, like it is here now, effectively at a very similar angle just above my eyeline, creating a nice flattering light that is quite easy to work with. Also consider when you are observing photos. Naturally, our eyes are often drawn to the brightest part of the image. Consider this when creating your portraits. The light that is hitting your model's face will ultimately help draw your attention to this part of the image when you are viewing it. So always consider this when directing your subject and choosing a location. When capturing photos at events such as weddings or music events, this same principle can be applied. Whether you're capturing photos of a group of people or some action taking place, consider how the lighting is adding or complementing your overall scene and how is it bringing attention to your subject. Of course, this can often depend on the location, so always consider moving yourself around the scene to find the best position with the best lighting. If the natural light just isn't sufficient, this is often where a flash will be required. For product photography, again, this principle is key. You want to use light to adequately draw the right amount of attention to the product so all of its details can clearly be seen. Depending on the type of product and the location you're shooting it at, this can be done with both artificial or natural light, often, again, a combination of the two. Whether you are using natural or artificial light, there are a few important points to consider. Of course, the intensity, the direction, but also the color balance of the light source. To experiment with natural light, one of the best things you can do is just go out at different times of day. You could go out with a friend shooting portraits or go out for the day shooting street photography. Compare to when the sun is high and bright to when it is a little bit lower and softer. Move your position around so the sun is in front of you, directly behind you, even off to the side. And then see how this changes your overall images and also the shadows in your photos. When it comes to seeing how light affects your overall photos, one of the most important things to consider is your camera settings. If you aren't familiar with the exposure triangle, this would be a great place to start. The exposure triangle helps you understand exactly how aperture, shutter speed, and ISO all work to control the overall exposure. If you need brushing up on any of these topics, you can find links to these videos down in the description. Settings for bright conditions like the middle of the day, you'll need a faster shutter speed, so something like 1/200, anywhere up to 1/4000, a lower ISO number like ISO 100, and sometimes you will need a narrower aperture, which is a larger f-stop number. In darker conditions, the opposite is true. You'll need a slightly slower shutter speed, a higher ISO number like ISO 800, and sometimes a wider aperture like f2.8. Shooting at night of course comes with its challenges, but it also opens up other opportunities like experimenting more with slower shutter speeds. One of the most overwhelming things when you're starting to use lighting equipment is understanding the many different types and knowing which to use. So here's a quick rundown of a few different types and how you can use them. Perhaps the most common light source actually used is a flash. Now, a flash can often be very bright or direct, so I'd often suggest using something to diffuse your flash or even bouncing it off the walls or ceiling where possible to help diffuse that very direct light source. If product photography is your thing, a very common piece of equipment is the light box. By placing a product inside a light box, the light bounces and reflects in all directions, diffusing it evenly. Another form is LED lights. This covers many different lights. They can often be portable and often come in different RGB options. Great for controlling a scene or even adding a splash of color. But what is the best light for a beginner to use? Well, often I would suggest the ring light. This is because it can be quite budget friendly and also very easy to use. You also don't need to attach a softbox or anything else. Because of its shape in a circle, it actually produces a nice diffuse light that is easy to work with. As mentioned, the best way to experiment with light can actually just be going out at different times of day or even in different weather conditions. Once you are a bit more confident using natural light, this can be a really great time to start experimenting with artificial light. You can even do this by taking self-portraits at home. Consider what's already available to you and how you might use these lights in your photography. Experimenting with a single key light, moving this around, adjusting its height, angle, intensity, or even bouncing it off walls, and see how this might change your photos. Taking photos at night can also be a really great way to experiment with light. Here you can learn to understand how lights moving through your frame will result in light trails, or how moving your camera and tracking a moving object with a slower shutter speed can result in fun new ways to explore photography, such as panning shots. Using light to your advantage doesn't stop once you've taken the photos either. When editing in Adobe Lightroom, you can take this to the next level and adjust things that perhaps you didn't quite nail when taking the photos. Here you can adjust the overall lighting with your basic adjustments, or to go one step further and adjust the overall balance of light, you can use the many different masking tools, allowing you to directly adjust light in specific parts of your photo and not affect others. As an example, here I could use the subject masking to automatically find my subject, then adjust the sliders to ultimately increase the light just on my subject. Or in the same way, I can use a radial gradient to increase the effect of the sunlight. For this, I often brighten the exposure and then use negative clarity and negative dehaze, helping to achieve a soft looking light. I can also use a warmer white balance to really increase that effect of the sun. Like any skill, understanding how light works and how it will affect your photography are ultimately mastered through practice. So get out there in many different types of lighting conditions, try different types of photography. This is the key to understand how light works and how to use it to your advantage next time you pick up your camera. I'm TK North. Thanks so much for watching.